morning, everybody. I had a rough night last night. I shut down at about 10:30 Central Time. I was in Toledo, and it was it sucked because there was no parking spots at the pilot truck stop that I stopped at. Then I went to, there was a McDonald's that was there that had like 5 truck parking spots. I tried it there. So I just kind of backed into a spot and I tried just sitting there for a while, and every noise I heard, or I backed into like the trucks were parked like this, and I parked behind them, but there was other trucks parked in a row to my right, and if they needed to pull out, I would have had to move. So every noise I heard, I woke up, and I tried staying awake as long as possible, hoping that somebody would leave, but nobody ended up leaving. And yeah, it's just I got a headache now. I ended up waking up at about I got like an hour of sleep, and then I ended up waking up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock or something like that. Drove around again, see if there's any open spots, and still no open spots. So I got inventive and I parked on the street in front of another truck. There's no parking sign, so I figured, hey, I'll give it a shot. So I parked there, and luckily I woke up this morning and didn't have any tickets or anything like that, so we're good to go. It was a rough morning waking up, though. I'm not a morning person. I usually drive overnights, but recently I've been leaving on Mondays, and because of that, I've been driving during the day. And yeah, not a big morning fan. I love mornings, like the view, the scene, the feel, the smells, but the actual waking up to an alarm part, not my cup of tea. And that bears a question that I want to ask you guys is, what's your morning routine that you do? I know for me, I have my alarm set. I have my Spotify attached to my phone, or to my alarms, and I have it play a different song every day, so I don't get used to one particular noise all the time, because I found that when I would have this same alarm tone, my body would get used to it, and I would end up waking up to I wouldn't wake up to the alarm, and I'd have to, so I'd have to set 3 or 4 alarms, and so I ended up, once Google had it where you could attach your Spotify to your alarm, I ended up setting that up, and that's helped me out a lot. But I also added the Google Routines, it's called. I'm trying to get this thing not to wiggle as much, but Google Routines, so when my alarm goes off, it ends up sending me tells me about my day, what I have on my schedule, the weather for the day, at least in the area that I'm at, and then it goes through and it starts reading me the news from the channels that I listen to. They're pretty much podcasts. They're short little podcasts, and that definitely helps me to wake up. Although sometimes when some of the when some of the news channels get a little longer in their discussion, I found that sometimes I'll hear it and I'll start to fall asleep and picture what they're saying as a, like if they're explaining, recently was the bombings in Sri Lanka, and I would end up having a short dream of what they were talking about, and that made it interesting, to say the less. But yeah, so then after that, what I do is go on my, I'll grab my phone after I listen to my podcasts, and then I'll sit there and grab my phone. I'll play a game, kind of get the mind working a little bit. I play a game called Toon Blast, and get my mind working a little bit. Kind of wakes me up a bit more, get the synapses firing. And then after that, I'll jump onto Facebook and I'll check my feed and see what kind of news is going on there. And then hopefully after all that, I end up actually crawling my butt out of bed. And yeah, this morning it was brutal. I had such a headache. I felt drunk, even though I obviously haven't had any liquor. My mind was super foggy. I think the falling asleep, waking up in like hour increments definitely did not help at all. So today is going to be filled with lots of coffee, for sure. Got my day started. I got some Burger King today. Ended up, I didn't really eat much yesterday because of I shut down at our terminal in Gary, Indiana. There's really no places around there to get food, at least that's easily truck accessible, unless you drive to the truck stop, which is a ways the opposite direction that I needed to go. And yeah, I just ended up drinking a bunch of water and snacking on some snacks, and that's pretty much my meals that I had yesterday. Like I told you, truck driving is not easy, as much as people try to tell you, oh, it's you drive. I drive every day. You drive. It's not hard. I can hold the steering wheel, hit the throttle, and step on the brakes. It's not just that. It's hard in the mentality aspect, and it's hard in the body condition aspect. It's always tough trying to figure out what you're going to have the next day for food, because at least for me, I don't pack any food on the truck with me because I am home every weekend, and I try to eat as healthy as I possibly can out on the road. But when there's a McDonald's and a sub, your choices are McDonald's, Subway, and generally like a Wendy's or Arby's. I'll eat Arby's all day long. Love Arby's. I try to stay away from McDonald's unless it's the breakfast food. Can't complain about that. But it's tough because you get the same foods over and over and over, and it's brutal. Like you start to feel sick when you think about that food, and especially I love Subway. Don't get me wrong, but man, I went through a Subway. Oh, that was a big one. I went through a Subway stint of just Subway for like 3 months, and you can only do so much to a cold sandwich, and even if you warm it up, it's still not the greatest after you've had it for 3 months. And it's tough now to get Subway, as I still eat it here and there, but it's kind of like when I was in college, I used to eat ramen because I was broke, and I liked that barley pop a little bit too much when I first went there, and I found my money was better invested into that than eating. So I'd go to the store, I'd buy a pack of ramen and some hot dogs or burger patties from the store, and use the George Foreman like crazy, and use ramen, and I overdosed on ramen. I couldn't touch it for a long time. Like just the smell of it after college just made me sick, and I ended up not eating it for a couple of years, and then finally I had it. For a meal when my daughter made it for me, and I was like, I'll try it again. And man, after taking a break for a while from it, that stuff tastes good. But anyways, that's my routine. I know I kind of went off on a tangent a little bit. I do that from time to time. So yeah, deal with it, I guess. So let me know in the comments what your routine is. See if maybe you can find something new from somebody else. Today we're heading to Hazelwood, Missouri, which is just outside of St. Louis. Got a load of car parts on the truck, heading to Hazelwood, and then after that we are turning around, picking up a load in Hazelwood, turning around and heading to Memphis, Tennessee. Another load of car parts heading out there, delivering to the Ford Reman Center. So it's a bunch of parts that need to be remanufactured. But yeah, I'll try to do a different style of video today. I'll do I'm starting in the morning. It's 10 o'clock right now, Central Time. It's at 11 o'clock where I am right now. But when I say the times, it's gonna be Central Time in the U.S. Because that's where I'm from, Minnesota. So that's where our time is at. I'll try to do a bunch of little clips today, and I'll edit it together and try to make it look decent. Still try to figure out the whole. I'm using a new app on my phone to try to edit quickly and easily and make it look decent for you. Like I said, stick with me. It'll slowly get better. It'll the quality, I should say, will get better. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. And yeah, I'll bring you through my adventure through the day. And I don't think I'm gonna really tape much or video much when the sun goes down, just because I have pretty sensitive eyes to light, and I don't like to run my light up here if I don't have to, because as you can see, every once in a while, you see this right here, that's from my steering wheel. My steering wheel is chrome, it has a chrome frame on it, and the nice wood here goes all the way around. Here, I'll just show you. So this is my steering wheel. Can't really get too far back, but yeah, it has this chrome on it, and that chrome has obviously very bad reflective quality, or really good reflective quality to it, and blinds me. Anyways, when I use this light up here, it hits the chrome and hits my face when I'm trying to record. I tried it last night and it was bugging the hell out of me. So, I'll try to stick to recording during the day, but anyways, stay tuned and let's see what the day brings us. Got my load delivered in St. Louis. Now I'm heading to Memphis, Tennessee. Gotta get fuel. That's what that ding was. Be stopping and getting fuel in about 15-20 minutes. Yeah, it's about a 308-mile drive there. I won't be able to make it all the way tonight. I only have just about 4 hours left on my clock. We have our log books that we have to go by or follow by the DOT rules, and already driven 476 miles today to make this delivery. And then I'll be able to get about another 240 in. Should be close to around 700 by the end of the day. Then wake up tomorrow and finish out this load, and then I don't know what's going on after this one. I don't have a load yet headed back towards home, but I should start heading back towards home, being that tomorrow's Thursday. But yeah, looks like we're in beautiful St. Louis traffic right now. Well, that was fun while it lasted 55 miles an hour. Anyways, yeah, I got a 30,000 pound load of parts that are going to a company in Memphis that remanufactures them. And then when you buy your parts from a parts store that are remand, short for remanufactured, that's where they come from. Not that only place, but that's what's going on. I just picked it up at a one of the domestic major car companies locations in St. Louis here, and yeah, at least it keeps me rolling. Anyways, we'll see you at the fuel stop. Alright, we stop and get fuel. It's about $2.74 a gallon right now. I was pretty empty. I was like on E, which gets me should be about 155 to 160 gallons that I'll have to get. So we'll see how much that is. It's going to be quite expensive. But I'm filling up both tanks this time. So that'll get me about 1,300 miles. So I won't have to fill up for, well, the rest of today. I'll get tomorrow done, and then might be able to, and then I'll get halfway through Friday, and then I'll probably have to fuel up on my way back home, see how it goes. Bunch of crashed cars on this trailer over here. You can see some pretty cool stuff on the road. You guys will get to experience some of this stuff with me as well. I'm going to try to get some video if I'm safely able to. I'm going to try to get some video while I'm going down the road. But the key word there is safe. You know, definitely the number one thing that you have to do out here is make sure that you're safe and make sure that you are, you know, paying attention to the road first and foremost. As much as it's going to be interesting and fun to make these videos for you guys, it's imperative to always make sure you know, keep an eye on the road, keep an eye on everything around you. Always watch out for the other person. Most of the driving is about defensive driving, honestly. Especially driving a big truck. Even though we're as big as we are, a lot of people, for some reason, they act like they don't see us. And it's totally unsafe and unacceptable, but unfortunately it's kind of one of those things that comes with the territory. You know, I got some family members that they say they don't like truckers because they're too big and they're too slow and they take up too much of the road. Well, it's like, if you don't like truckers, stop buying stuff. I mean, literally, we make the world go round. You know, we make. If it wasn't for truckers, the economy wouldn't be what it is. The fuel's making this thing bounce around. I got anti-siphon things in there that are broken, so these kind of swing around in there when it's getting fuel. The other pump stopped. We're at 163 gallons right now. This one should stop here pretty soon. Alright, so finally shut down for the night. I'm in a town in Arkansas called Blytheville at a Love's truck stop. I'm so beat. I am and I'm not. It sucks because I usually run overnights, or I used to run overnights a lot, so my body's still pretty much used to that, and all I do is run until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be, by the time I'd shut down, I'd be just beat. And then you have to be shut down for 10 hours and then wake up again and do it all over. Do that, 5 times, 6 times a day or a week, and your body tends to get quite used to it when you do it for a couple years on end. And the reason why I'd run overnights is because traffic was a lot slower, not as many idiots out on the road. And the nice part was too is that you just, you could just run, and by the time I get into a truck stop, a lot of these guys that like to run super early in the morning, they would end up leaving, they'd be leaving the truck stop when I get there. So there's almost always an opening, a parking opening. I just happened to get lucky when I got here because there's somebody that was just pulling out right when I got here, and I shut down at 9:30, 21:30, and I got pretty lucky. There was 2 or 3 guys that were just swarming around, driving around, trying to find parking spots, and right when I pulled up, this guy pulled out, and I was like, I'm taking that spot. But I did. I ended up doing 715 miles today. Got an average of 8.4 miles a gallon. Let's see what other kind of stuff we can look at here. So I ended up using 84 gallons today. So if you figure that 84 gallons times $2 and average out about $2.80 a gallon. I don't have, because I'm using my phone right now to record, I don't really have the calculator, and I'm not good at math, so you guys can do the math yourself. I don't really idle much. The sweet spot is on the tack. There is, you'll see, well, you can't see it now obviously, but there's a green display that when the needle is in the display or in the green, you're in the sweet spot, which is where you get the best horsepower, best fuel economy, all that stuff. So that's what the sweet spot hours is. As you can tell, I'll use the cruise. Look at that, drove 11 hours even. So that's pretty cool. That's exactly the amount of hours that you're allowed during the day. That includes also the time of, driving around, anytime that your brakes are off. So then here's what my clock looks like for the day. I drove almost a full 11 on the logs, and the 14-hour clock, this line here, this starts right when you start your clock in the morning, doing a pre-trip, and then it ends when you're done with your day with your post-trip. You can see what the graph looks like there. So this right here is my pre-trip, and then driving. I think this is when I did my delivery. I drove, that was my half-hour break. I drove, got fuel. This is my delivery and my pickup. Half-hour break. I drove, got fuel, went out duty, went inside, grabbed some food, drove for the rest of the night, did my post-trip, and now we're here. Been shut down for 42 minutes. But yeah, you can see this is miles today, 725. That also includes I don't know why that's off. That's 725 there, but 715 on my dash. But either way, still got quite a bit of miles in for the day. So yeah, it's been a long day. I don't know what the hell I'm doing tomorrow because I don't have a load for tomorrow yet. I just have this load to deliver, and then after that I have to sit around and wait. So I might actually start my clock. I can start, if I shut down at 9:30 or 21:36, I can start driving at 7:36 in the morning. I don't know if I'm going to start my clock at that time because of the fact of I don't have a load for tomorrow yet to keep me rolling. So my plan is to hang out here, stay shut down, don't start my clock, because like I said, when you start your 14-hour clock, when I do a pre-trip and if I was to drive, I'm only 80 miles away from my delivery in Memphis. So if I ended up driving right away in the morning at 7:30, that means that I would have to shut down the latest at 9:30, 21:30 again tomorrow. And if I have to sit around and wait, I will start digging into my 14, which means I lose out on the 11 hours, a chunk of the 11 hours. So when you start your day, you have 14-hour, picture a Subway sub or something like that. You have a 14-inch Subway sub. You can only eat 11 of it during the day. And if you take more time to drive in that 11, or not more time to drive, if you take more time sitting around waiting, getting unloaded, that ends up going into your so essentially if you have 11 hours on your 14, you have 3 hours to be able to do off-duty, on-duty stuff, like getting fuel, pre-trip, post-trip, dropping your trailer, hooking up to your trailer, any kind of little repairs, anything like that. When you're at the customer, any of that time that's you're taking doing that, you have to it goes towards your 14. The 11 is only time that you're driving down the road. So the moment that you start your 14-hour clock, your 14 hours starts, no matter, and it doesn't end until you go off duty for 10 hours, or you can do a split log, which is an 8-hour and 2-hour. That's a whole nother thing I'm not going to try to explain. So say if I was to start my clock and I ended up sitting at a customer for 3 hours, because I did my 15-minute pre-trip, I'm already digging into my 14 by, I'm already sacrificing, part of my 11 by 15 minutes, because that 3 hours at the customer, pretty much took up all that extra cushion that I got. So then essentially it's taken away from money that I'm not be able to make in that day because I'm driving, and or because money that I would have made if I was driving, and you end up not being able to make as much for the day. But yeah, I don't know, it's gonna be a interesting day tomorrow because freight's kind of crappy right now and I don't know what the hell to do, but might sleep in. This load doesn't have to be there until 1500 tomorrow. Technically it's actually not scheduled to deliver until Friday, but they'll take it at any point during the day, but they go home at 1500, so I have to make sure I'm there at 1500, which is 3 o'clock p.m. for you people that don't know military time. And yeah, so I'm gonna hit the hay. Hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see what we can do with some videos tomorrow. Hopefully it won't be me just going crazy with not having anything to do. I'm hoping I should have something to do, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, everybody have a good night and a good day wherever you're at, and keep on trucking. See ya.